Okay, so this is the tutorial for comp makeup. A lot of this is just what I do. It's not gonna work for everybody, but these are the tips and tricks that I use for makeup. I don't have all of the same stuff that you guys are gonna use, but I do have the same eyeshadow, so which is the most important for specific colors. Okay, so for comp makeup, I always do eyeshadow first because you're putting a lot of eyeshadow on and normally it falls around. So when you do eyeshadow first, you can just wipe it off your face without wiping off any of the other makeup that you've done. So I'm gonna start with eyes. I always make sure that I put a little bit of concealer or foundation on top of my eyelids, so that way the eyeshadow has something to grip to. From there, I'm gonna take Girl Boss and Daisy Dream. It's these two right here. And it's kind of gonna be basically like a powder over your eyes, just setting the concealer or foundation or whatever you put on so that the eyeshadow doesn't go on super patchy. Okay, so to start, since I have really fair skin, I'm gonna go in with Mocha Latte. If you have a deeper skin tone, you could do 5 o'clock for your crease color, but I'm gonna do Mocha Latte. I'm gonna take just a tiny bit, like I'm barely dabbing my brush on there, and I'm gonna go in to the crease of my eye, and I'm just doing back and forth swiping motions. I'm not pushing hard, I'm just going back and forth really soft. I know some people like doing one eye entirely and then switching to the other. I like doing them both at the same time because I think it's easier to get them to look the same. Super light, you can hardly see anything. The shadows in my room are really bad, but that doesn't help at all. But you can kind of see just the little bit of crease color in there. Next, I'm going to go in with a little bit of a deeper color. So now I am going to use the 5 o'clock color. If you started your crease color with this, if you have a deeper skin tone and you started with this, you can do this for your next one. Again, I'm not picking up a lot up on my brush because it's easier to add more than to put too much and have to take it away. And instead of bringing it over the whole crease now, I'm just keeping it out here in the outer part. Not in the very corner, but the corner and then about almost halfway point. And honestly, the key is to just blend as much as you possibly can, just over and over again, because that's gonna help it look not so harsh. You want people to be able to tell you have makeup on from the audience, but you still want it to look blended and not like, oh. Now I'm just going to continue to build the color a little bit more. So I'm just gonna go in with that same color, just a little bit more, focusing again on that outer area more so. And if you're doing this on somebody else, if you have a younger girl, what's gonna be easier instead of having them fully close their eyes, it's gonna, because they're gonna want to squint, just have them look down and then put the eyeshadow on when they're looking down. Going back in with the crease color a little bit more because I feel like it needs a little bit more. Okay, next I am getting just a little bit smaller brush if you have one. Not like insanely small, but for the deeper outer corner color, you're not gonna want to go too insane with it. So that's why I prefer to have a little bit smaller of a brush. So now I'm going in with Chocolate Kiss, again starting with just a little bit on my brush, and then I'm just lining it up directly with my crease, putting it in and brushing it on. And I'm gonna pull it a little bit down on my eyelid as well. I'm just going back in with the original brush that I used, no color on it, just blending all of it in together. Okay, now I just kind of take a look at it and I add the colors that I feel like I need there to be a little bit more of. Like looking at what I have now, I feel like I definitely need a little bit more of the darkest color on my outer corner. Okay, so for the lid, I'm going to take the very lightest shade, Girl Boss, and I'm going to put it right on my lid. I'm not going to bring it up into the crease. I'm just going to go straight over my lid. It's okay if it covers anything that you have so far because you can always put more on top. But what this is gonna do, it's gonna create a base for the shimmer to go on top of and look even brighter. Okay, so once I have that on, I'm gonna start with Wake Up Call. It's this like champagne-y color right here. And I'm gonna go over the white that I just put on, but only about like to here, right there. Then after that, I'm gonna take Flutter, this one, and I'm gonna do it on the center of my lid. And I'm just blending the two colors together. And I'm actually just using the same brush for the shimmer part, just wiping it on a towel in between. Okay, and lastly, I'm gonna go in with Toasted Amber on the outside of the lid. And I just try to blend them as much as possible. Now I'm gonna go back to that very first crease color that we put on, and I'm just gonna go over everything one more time to make sure it looks blended, to make sure it's not, and nothing is super harsh. I'm going in with just a little bit more of the darkest color on the outside. Okay, so I'm gonna pause on eyeshadow right now. I'm going to go ahead and wipe under my eyes to get off any excess eyeshadow. And then also, if you have a hard time kind of keeping it in the crease right here, and if you need to be a little bit messier while you're putting the crease color, or I'm sorry, any of the eyeshadow on, you can always make the shape as you're wiping the eyeshadow off and help it be just a tiny bit cleaner. Before I do my foundation, I'm gonna do my eyebrows. If you have darker eyebrows or younger, it's probably not something that you need to worry about, but for me, I do them just because they get a little unruly. And if you do end up wanting to do your eyebrows, brow gel, just a spoolie and brush them through. Everybody does them differently. I'm using this. Okay, so for foundation, I don't have the exact one, but you know, it's gonna work the same. I put a little bit onto my hand. You can put it directly on your face. It's preference. I start with a brush, and then when I do concealer, I blend everything together with a sponge, but again, preference. And since this is stage makeup, you're gonna use more than you would normally use. It's not supposed to look super normal when you're up close to somebody, because the purpose is to see it from far away. Next, I'm gonna go in with concealer. I'm gonna put it on all the high points of my face,
as well as under the eyes, forehead, chin, and then
for my older girls, if you want to cover up any blemishes. And then now is whenever I blend in with a sponge. When you're blending it in around your eye, just be careful to not cover up any of the eyeshadow that you've already done. Down the neck. Okay, so once I have that all blended in, this is another step that by all means is not mandatory. It's something I do, and if it's something that you decide that you want to do as well, but it is not something that is a must. I do cream contour and cream blush just because I feel like it stays longer, but again, powder is still gonna work when you go over it on top. If you don't do that, you'll do this right after concealer, foundation, powder. Powder is going to be so important because you're going to be sweating, your makeup's going to want to come off, you're going to be shiny, and powder is what's going to help that. So you can either do it with a little powder brush. I prefer a little powder puff because I feel like I can press it in more. Preference. Another thing that some people do, some people don't do, I do it because it helps it last. I use setting spray right after I powder. Preference. I'm going to jump to bronzer and blush. If you are on one of the teams that uses bronzer, you're familiar with bronzer probably, but just in case, you don't want to put it anywhere lower than it's going to line up with the curve of your mouth. Any lower than that is going to pull your face down. You're trying to define your features. And again, more than you would normally use in everyday life. Also going to put it on my forehead to bronze my forehead up, since we took out basically all the color in our face when we did foundation and powder. I'm going to go over my nose as well, just so it doesn't blend into my face as much. For blush, so important. Blush is another one of those things where placement is important, because if you put it all down here, it's gonna drag your face down. You want it to, like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna put it right on the apple of my cheek, and instead of blending down, I'm gonna blend back. More. I'm also gonna put it on my nose, a little bit on my forehead, and a little bit on my chin, just adding the color back into my face. It's gonna look a little crazy. From here, everybody's favorite part, eyeliner and lashes. Before I do any of that, I'm going to finish out my eyeshadow. A little brush. I'm gonna go in with, I'm gonna start with the second to darkest color, just in case the darkest ends up looking a little crazy. And I'm gonna go right on my lash line. And then blend it back into the eyeshadow. Not that much, just a little bit. When you do this on another person, it's gonna be easiest to have them look up. And I'm not taking it all the way under my eye, just a little bit to make them pop even more. Like that, nothing crazy. You want it to stay really close to the lash line. You don't want to just go nuts and make it look muddy. Eyeliner. I'm not exactly sure what kind everybody is using. This is the one I use. I prefer to use a pen. Mine looks like this, like so. I'm gonna start. This is just the way I do it. Again, it's about finding what works for you. I start by finding the very, very outer point of my eye, and I'm just gonna draw a line out. I'm using such a light hand. Like you know, when you sketch, that's kind of what I'm doing. Then I'm gonna find a point, kind of like the midpoint of the wing, and I'm gonna pull it down. Or I'm sorry, not down, I'm gonna pull it in towards my eye. And then I'm just going to make sure that it's not looking too crazy. I always start small because I can make it bigger, but it's gonna be a lot harder to take away because then you're taking off eyeshadow as well. Then once I have it a little bit, once I have it mapped out, I'm gonna make it a little bit longer. Then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna press it flat against my lash line and just connect it. I'm not going all the way in. And then once I get further out towards the wing, I'm just gonna connect it, bring it out a little bit more. And then just tweak it until you feel relatively good about it. You do the same thing on the other side, same exact steps. Not perfect, but just so there's something there. Before I put my lashes on, I'm going to do a little base of mascara. Just to where they're slightly coated. I find that this just gives the lashes something to rest on. This is my favorite eyelash glue, Duo. These are the lashes that I'm gonna use. One thing that is so important, you're going to have to trim these. They're gonna be way too big for your eyes because they're gonna be too long. Tweezers are gonna be an essential tool. At least for me they are. Be very careful. Depending on what kind of lashes you buy, Ardell can tear easy. So just be careful as you pull them off. Don't pull too hard just because they have sticky on them. So just kind of boom, 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 boom. What I like to do that I find easier, sometimes I cut them into multiple pieces. I'm going to show you doing it all in one. Just because, you know, sometimes you don't have that time. I'm gonna, with no glue, set it on my eye. Kind of see how much I need to trim off. Go from there. I'm not the best at putting on lashes, so we're in this together. I'm gonna grip my lash like this in my tweezers. I'm gonna squeeze a little bit out like this. You're not gonna want to use a whole lot of glue. And I'm just gonna slightly run the glue over the lash. Like that. Now I let it dry for 2 minutes. After you let the glue get a little tacky, 1-2 minutes, when I see other people put lashes on other people, they normally don't use tweezers. They use their fingers and place it. When I do them on myself, I have to use tweezers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna place it roughly where I need to put it. Then I'm gonna use my tweezers, pinch the lash to my lashes. Push it on. Pinch the lash to my lashes. I didn't get enough glue on the inside of the lash. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on the outside of the tweezer. Make sure before you grab the other lash with the tweezer, clean the tweezers, make sure there's no excess glue on them that's gonna stick to the lash when you try to put it on your eye. Okay, for my left eye, I can't use the tweezers because I can't bend my wrist like that. So I do place it with my hand. Then I'm going to let them dry a little bit more before I start messing with them. I'm gonna go back in with my eyeliner. There's places where you can see the glue on top of the lash. I'm just gonna color over that so you can't see it. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a tiny bit of eyeliner from here to connect it, just so there's not that blank space. Once I have them on and they feel kind of sturdy, I'm just gonna blink a couple times. Then I'm going to grab my mascara again, and I'm going to put mascara over them, especially because the ones I got were a little bit more natural looking. If you get more of a dramatic one, you might not have to do this. And then to really connect the fake lashes in your own lashes, I brush down against them and then back up. Then I'm just gonna put bottom mascara on as well. Okay, almost done. So I'm going to grab the eyeshadow palette again, grab a little brush, just whatever brush, honestly. I'm gonna take Wake Up Call again, that one, and I'm gonna use it as a highlighter. Then I'm gonna take a smaller brush, same color on my inner corner, brow bone, tip of my nose, down my nose, and Cupid's bow. As long as your cheeks have a little bit of shine to them, just so it doesn't look so flat, that's what matters most. Before I do lipstick, I find that something that helps them stay a little bit more is powdering my lips before. You can do this, or you can use a slight lip liner. I'm gonna do this. Just my color. And I don't do one of these because I find that it smears. Okay. And then very last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my face again, because again, I'm gonna be dancing, doing all sorts of stuff. So to me, I like setting my face. So this is it. Remember, it's gonna be a lot more than the average daily makeup. You want to be able to see it from the audience, so it's going to be a lot. Makeup comes off, so just have fun with it, do the best you can. Hope this helped a little bit, and let's go comp season. Woo!